Everybody keeps asking for what you eat in a day videos, so here we go. Ask and you shall receive. We're going to talk about meals, snacks, oils, salt, meal timing, fasting, supplements, the whole 9 yards. Bear in mind, there's a lot of different ways to eat a healthy diet depending on your specific goals. Plenty of options. This is just how I do it. So most days, my breakfast is oats with some fruit. I don't even add milk anymore. I lost the habit. Cow milk or plant milk, neither one. I just add water and cook it like that. I got used to doing it that way and I like it. So I just stopped buying milk of any kind years ago. This breakfast is a really good fit for me. The health data looks good. I like it and I find it very satiating. But obviously for people who don't like it or who have different dietary limitations, lots of other breakfast options out there. I know there's a lot of questions about oats. We have a recent video where we covered a lot of frequently asked questions, including things about glucose spikes and diabetes and insulin and all that. So I'll link that in the end. All right, let's keep going and let's look at the regular meals throughout the day. This is one example. This is a seafood rice with wild rice, mussels, clams, and some avocado. And I had this last night. And honestly, this was delicious. I even had seconds. I know people focus a lot on these labels. Is it low fat? Is it paleo? Is it vegan? Is it low carb? Honestly, my diet doesn't entirely fit any of those labels. And I never think about those. I never wonder about these words or these categories. I just try to eat a healthy diet that fits my goals, which are basically two. The first goal is we have a couple genetic risk factors that run in my family, high LPA, and this kidney disease called polycystic kidney. So both of those are genetically determined. They're both risk factors for heart disease later in life. So the strategy is to get all of the lifestyle and the key parameters really dialed in. So the blood pressure, not smoking, fasting glucose, ApoB, physical activity. So I've played around and I can control those better with my diet. So that's my personal strategy. But most people probably don't need to be as strict as I am. And then the second goal is environmental impact. I try to minimize my carbon footprint in general. And so the diet is also aiming for that. Okay, here's another meal example. This is a bean curry with some quinoa that I also had yesterday. We make a lot of curries because it's very flavorful and you can throw in whatever you want and it almost always works. That curry is a good example of kind of the basic structure of my meals. There's usually a legume at the core, like a lentil or a bean or something like that. And then sometimes a little bit of a whole grain, sometimes not, sometimes some vegetables. So that's kind of how I visualize it. We batch cook twice a week, so we always have a few dishes ready in the fridge. So all we got to do is pick something, mix and match, plate, and eat. And all our meals are simple, pretty quick to cook, nothing fancy or that takes a lot of work. Cheap. We don't spend a ton of money on food. Okay, let's talk oils and salt. Our default oil, both to dress salads and to cook, is olive oil. I'm in Portugal right now, so olive oil is kind of a no-brainer here. Very high quality, cheap, and ubiquitous. I also have a bottle of canola oil. I sometimes add that to salads instead of olive oil, so I kind of mix it up. Sometimes people are surprised to hear canola oil because of all the scary things they hear on the internet. But we have a whole video going over the science on canola systematically for people who are interested. It was actually after researching it for that video in part that I bought this bottle because I kept seeing benefit after benefit in the data. And it was pretty impressive, so I decided to add it to my diet. Okay, let's talk salt. I don't really add salt to my foods. I lost a habit a while back and I don't even notice it anymore. We have a potassium salt. Sometimes I add that to salads. Sometimes I just forget because I don't have the habit anymore of feeling that salty taste. This way I'm able to keep my blood pressure where I want it, usually around 110/60 ballpark. But of course, this varies a lot from person to person. Some people can tolerate a lot of salt and still have great blood pressure. Others are really strict and still have high blood pressure. So as always, it varies. Okay, we're going to talk snacks and drinks and supplements and everything else. Real quick, meat and eggs, because I know people are going to ask. I almost never eat them for the same reasons we already covered. Once in a blue moon, if somebody in my household, for example, is going to throw some away, they're not going to eat it anymore, I'll eat it instead. Or if we go to somebody's house and they serve something, I eat it. I don't push off the plate. But it happens maybe like once a year, very sporadic. And I want to clarify, I don't think that having some meat or some eggs makes a diet unhealthy. I want to make this clear because sometimes people see these videos and they think the person is saying this is the only way to eat. One thing is balance of evidence and totality of evidence for most people. And another thing is a personal strategy, a personalization, right? So good to make that distinction. And we have to get over this thing on the internet of insisting that our favorite foods or our preference is the right way to eat for everybody else. It's kind of childish. Eggs, for example, vary a ton depending on the person, depending on genetics. Some people can eat a boatload of eggs and their lipids don't go up. Other people, they jump up a lot. I'm somewhere in the middle. They do go up some. So I just avoid it. All right, let's take a look at snacks. Main snack between meals for me is fruit. We always have a lot of fresh fruit at the house. Nuts is another common one. Walnuts. Pistachios are some of my favorites. What else? Cheese sandwich, peanut butter sandwich, yogurt, dried fruit. Yeah, those are some examples. I don't eat a ton of bread, but we try to get higher quality breads when we get it. So not that paper white sliced bread that doesn't look like food. We try to get maybe rye breads or whole grain breads and eat those occasionally. As far as refined carbohydrates, candy, cookies, pastries, things like that, I really don't have that very often. I'm being honest, I would tell you if I did. And the way I do it is I just don't have it at the house for the most part. Don't buy it, don't bring it home. It's the best way to keep it out of my hands at least. Once in a blue moon, if I feel like having a cookie, I'll have one, but it's not common. Maybe once every other couple months or something like that. Drinks, I drink almost exclusively water. I drink a lot of water because of that kidney thing. I'm always carrying my water bottle around. So I drink about 4 liters of water daily, sometimes a little bit more. I don't drink coffee, just never had that habit. But the health data on coffee looks good for most people. I just never got used to drinking it from an early age. All right, let's talk about macros and eating times and fasting and all these things. I really don't think about macros when it's time to eat. How much fat is in my food, how much carb is in my food. It doesn't occur to me, I just don't care. I try to eat healthy foods, and that's about it. I do try to have a protein source in most meals, like the legumes that I talked about. And then on days that I go to the gym to lift weights, which is most days, I have a protein shake. And that's all the macro thinking that I do. So I ran a typical day of eating through Chronometer because I know people are going to ask how much carb, how much of fat, how much this. And so the typical day came out at roughly 2,300, 2,400 calories, protein between 100 and 130 grams, depending if I have the protein shake or not. So that's around 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilo of body weight, which is what they recommend for muscle growth. If you look at protein research, and we covered this before, 1.6 grams of protein per kilo of body weight is essentially where they see muscle growth be maximized for people lifting weights. And also every essential amino acid was more than maxed out on that typical day of eating. I know people worry about this a lot, the amino acids and the protein. We have a lot of videos going over this in detail, the different types and the bioavailability and all these questions. It's really not that complicated. And there's a number of approaches that you can take to get all the protein you need. It's not that hard. And then macros, everybody wants to know macros. They came out to about 22% of my calories from protein on that typical day, 46% from carbs, and 30%, give or take, from fat. And I wasn't shooting for anything. This was just, I put in the foods from that typical day, and this is what it spit out. And honestly, I had never run this calculation, kind of looked at this breakdown. That's how much I worry about macros. Okay, let's talk eating times and fasting and all these questions. I really don't worry about eating times too much. I don't even have these standard meals, the lunch and the dinner most of the time. I eat when I'm hungry. Sometimes it's odd hours. I do try to not stuff myself or eat a lot of snacks late at night in the evening. Other than that, I don't fast on purpose. I've gone over the data on fasting. We have a lot of videos on fasting, and I haven't really seen any compelling evidence that fasting offers any unique benefits above and beyond just the calories and the quality of foods. So I don't really bother with it. I know fasting works well for a number of people who like it, like to integrate it. Great. I find it very doable to control body weight, to lose weight, to maintain lean weight, healthy body weight, just by controlling the type of foods that I eat and not going for ultra processed foods that are very calorically dense. So that's essentially what I do. All right, we're going to look at supplements real quick on this question of organic or not. I don't really worry about it. I've looked at the evidence on organic. We have at least one video on it. I haven't really seen any compelling evidence that organic is any healthier. So I get conventionally raised produce most of the time, but happy to revisit that and change that strategy in the future if the data changes. Okay, let's talk supplements. I have 4 supplements. I have a B12 that I take once a week, 2,000 micrograms. I have a vitamin D in drops. I take 1 drop a day, and that contains 2,000 international units. I have an omega-3 from algae, 800 milligrams of DHA. And the last one is iodine, 400 micrograms. And by the way, I don't sell supplements. I don't accept any sponsors. I don't have deals with any supplement company, so I don't really care which brands. And I don't even have a preference. I just usually research online and sometimes switch brands, so I don't have a specific recommendation. And the rationale is the same for all 4. Fish and seafood is the main source of most of these. It's the main source of EPA, DHA, these long-chain omega-3s. It's the main source of vitamin D. It's the main source of iodine. And I do have seafood. Sometimes I had some yesterday, for example. But I don't want to have to worry constantly, did I have enough vitamin D yesterday, and doing the math every day? It's a drag. So I just take these supplements. They take care of it at very moderate doses. I've researched this. They're very effective and very safe at these doses. So that takes care of it. We have specific videos going over most of these nutrients, and we have one on vitamin D that's about to drop probably next week. So that's it. That's a typical day of my diet and supplementation. I'm not married to any of this. I constantly tweak as new evidence comes out. But this is kind of my current strategy based on everything I've seen. Here's that video on oats with a lot of questions answered. And here's the one on canola. A lot of science in there that I think most people have never been shown. Check those out. I'll see you in there. Bye-bye.